Hello everyone, this is Riccardo Masini and this is vlog. And this is the last vlog before the summer break, the summer holiday break. And for this vlog I have something really special for you. That is Rebellion Britannia by Maurice Suckling, a game on the P500 by GMT Games, but to be published by GMT Games. What this means is, yes, this is a prototype. So the usual disclaimer, this is a prototype, not the final product, not the final visual art, not the final components. Some rules will be different, the map will not be what you're seeing, blah 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 blah. Okay, you're ready on that. We can go beyond that step. This is a prototype and I really thank you, really want to thank Maurice Suckling for having shipped this copy to me, this preview copy for some play test that I did also with my friends and alone, and with my father Sergio, who is a all-time grognard, and we all liked the game. And this is a game for 1 to 4 players, 2 to 3 hours maximum, and it is a game about I don't know, this is not exactly the conquest of Britannia by Rome, the Roman Empire. It is a game about the maintenance of the conquest of Britannia. We are in the 1st century AD and Rome has already conquered Britannia. It's funny that I'm speaking about a game about Britannia, the Roman conquest of Britannia while being in Rome, because I'm recording here my home in Rome, in Roma. Okay. Funny bit. Anyway, this is a game about the maintenance of this conquest, because Rome, as you see red pieces, you see the legions, the mighty Roman legions, they are all over the place. These are settlements, Roman cities, and they occupy the southeastern part of Britannia. No problem about that. But the real problem is represented by these pieces, these other colored pieces. We have the Silures, the Brigantes, the Iceni, and they are the 3 major Breton factions, and they are Breton tribes, the nations that are resisting the Romanization progress. And we have also purple pieces. They are neutral Breton pieces that can be used by the 3 major tribes, by the 3 major factions, Breton factions, against Rome, but sometimes they're neutral, sometimes they don't care, sometimes they're even allied with Rome. But they are preserving the Breton civilization. These are that is represented through these. These are cultural tokens, and the Britons have to keep them on the map to score victory points, while the Roman legions go around the map and go here and they remove them. But Britain can, with their cards, place other cultural tokens on the map as well. And there are very interesting situations. Here in Mona, here on this tip here, we have a druidic population. We are the druids, and they are in the warpath. There's a warbands, and we'll see that in a moment. There is a neutral Breton settlement, and this is a very troublesome spot for the Romans. They have to conquer that spot. The Breton faction, the Roman forces are represented by legions. You know where a legion is. There's the imperial standards, the trumpets and drums, all the legionaries and their encampments and blah blah blah. There are also the Roma forts that are fundamental for logistics. But the Breton pieces, let's see, for example, the Iceni. Okay, this is a prototype, and the final product you will have the usual underground pieces of coin games. This is a tension. On this side, it is just a tension piece. Okay, troublesome people speaking about revolt, maybe some minor raids, nothing in particular. But when cards and other actions flip them to this side, this is a warband, and this is the beginning of an army. And Breton warband, when we have 4 Breton warbands in a region, they can attack a legion and they can get down their cohesion. And when a legion loses 3 steps of cohesion, it is gone. And not only the Britons make a lot of victory points for this, but they also remove one of the only 4 legions that were stationed in Britannia. And it is very bad news for the Roman. So think of them like underground pieces in coin games. Of course, when the Breton pieces are on their warband side, they are exposed, and the Roman legion can remove them via battle cards. So, as always, you have to balance. Do I want to expose myself? If I expose myself, okay, I can attack directly the Roman, but the Roman will be able to respond. So when I attack him, I have to disperse, and the usual coin stuff. I already mentioned cards, and cards are at the very heart of this game. This game is played by cards. Every player gets 7 cards. You have strategy cards and action cards. The difference is that strategy can be used from your hand or can be prepared on the previous turn, so that you can then activate it on the next turn, so that in your turn you can essentially use 2 cards. Action cards can only be played from your hand. And these cards, well, they're very simple, because when you play a card, you just enforce, you just apply all the rules that are in a card, and so they tell you to add tension, to convert tension into warbands, or as from to move a legion or create a settlement. But also some of the cards have let's see, okay, for example, this one, Renown. When you play this card, you get 1 VP to Silurius for every region where they have the most warbands. So you essentially change your strategy, because some cards give you victory points, so that you keep a card from one turn to the other, and then you spend that turn to satisfy the victory conditions of the card that you are holding in your hand, so that you can get more victory points. Okay, also, these are the type of cards. They're leader cards, and these leaders, okay, they are double face, because through some cards they can change, leader can be captured or killed. They're all historic leaders, and they have special abilities that can be used once per game. When they are used, you just flip them like that, or special victory conditions, other source of victory points. And also you have event cards. Event cards are the clock of the game. The sequence of the game essentially moves like that. You have an event phase, before the beginning of your gaming session, remove some of these cards, of these event cards, to avoid card counting, and I love that mechanic. And so you have an event phase, and then you see through the sequence before the Silures, the Iceni, the Brigantes, and then Rome. When it is the turn of a player, well, that player has a strategy phase where he or she can play the card prepared on the previous turn. Then there is a play step when the player can play a strategy card or an action card from his or her hand, or can play a forced action. So these are generic actions, the military actions for Rome, move and fight, or build tension for the Briton, or try to have treaties with Rome, because also the faction can have treaties with Rome, and so avoid being attacked for that turn. But Rome can spend other cards to avoid that. This is essentially a way to make people make actions even when they don't want to spend cards. Then there is a prepare step you can put away one of your cards and so prepare it for the next turn, so you have to build powerful combinations of cards, and then a discard phase. But this is another peculiarity of this game: once the cards are discarded, they cannot be put back in your hand. You don't recover that, you don't reshuffle, never reshuffle anything in this game, except at the beginning of the play. So you have to be very careful, because once you have finished your cards, they are over, they are finished. And after the discard phase, there is the draw phase. So you put your hand back to 7. It is the Siluris, the Iceni, the Brigantes, and then Rome. What happens when you have one of these phases that belongs to an automated, to a bot, to a non-present player? Because as I said, you can play this game 1 to 4 players. Well, you play your deck, your faction, when it is the turn of an automated player. Like in Time of Crisis, you always play with 4 factions, only that some of these factions can be at your pleasure, as you want, be managed by bots. So you can if you're 2, you can play 2 Britons against Rome, and then 2 factions are managed by bots. Or always, if you're 2, you can play 1 plays Rome, another plays another faction, and 2 factions are managed by bots, and on and on and on. And remember, the Briton factions, this is not a cooperative game. Only one Briton faction, here is the track with the victory points, only one will win. Well, what happens when a bot gets to play its cards? It just plays 2 cards, first one and then another, but on each card there is instruction unknown player faction. The bot will essentially just apply the card, execute the card with the priorities written in that tiny section, and that is all of the rules for the bots. There are no special rules. I love that. I don't have algorithms to learn special rules and blah blah blah, distortions on the game. Nothing of the kind. It's very easy, very simple, and on. Oh, and in bot factions, they start with 10 points more, and and they don't use the leader cards, the special abilities, so the leader cards. And so you go on and on until you have event cards to play. This is the heart of the game, and yes, this is the core of the game. Of course, there are some other special rules to simulate other situations that can happen during the play. The rules for movement, which is different from Britons to Romans. Britons, and everything is in the cards. Essentially, Briton can move from one area to the next, but the legions, the Roman legions, they have Roman roads. Romans were famous whenever they built roads. So if you have a route connected by settlements or forts, they can move 2 regions. For example, this legion in Belgium could move just one area if it goes into Siluris, because there is no settlement here. But from Belgium it could go 1 and 2 Atrebates and then to Catuvellani, here it is, because there is a settlement here, there are settlements there, so there is a road, and so they're very mobile. They can fly all over the place. This is a game where everyone moves a lot, not on the map. And combat is very different. Combat can happen, let's see, only when there are, for the Britons it is very different, because it can happen only when there are 4 Briton pieces on the map. For example, this is the situation in the Buni. Let's say that with 1 card, the Siluris, they had 1 prepared card, let them move these 3 pieces here in the Buni. Okay, we are 4 Briton pieces against in every area. There can be at maximum 4 Briton pieces against one legion, then they use a battle card, so everyone gets to become a warband. Oops, sorry. Also here we are. Also the neutral Briton present, 4 Britons against the legion, and so they take down 1 cohesion step to this legion in Dubuni, they get 1 victory point. But now the Roman, if the Roman has a battle card in his hand, on her hand, the Roman player, well, he or she gets to do a battle and destroy all these 4 warbands because they are exposed. If the Roman player has not that battle card, they cannot respond when the Britons, the Siluris, may on the next turn may decide that they want to stay here, or better, they want to disperse, so that they are warbands now, and the Roman will try to destroy them because they are exposed. So this is in essence the combat. Of course, there are some exceptions, as you see, highly asymmetrical. In every region there can be at most 4 Briton pieces. There is the rule of 4, and so that Briton pieces, when they get into a region, if there are more than 4, they displace other Briton pieces, or even they fight against each other, or if they cannot be placed, they gain victory points, another victory point source, and so on and so on. On the map you see those tokens, those cultural tokens, and this takes us into another rule, that is the victory conditions. Victory conditions, as we have said, many cards have a small victory condition. You gain 1 victory points for this, 1 victory points for that. You get victory points for the damage you inflicted to your enemy, for the cohesion hits you do to the legions, or for the warbands eliminated, for the Roman settlements or the Briton settlements eliminated. There are rules for that. But also you get victory points for cultural tokens, because every card has 1 of these tokens. It's a culture token. There is culture, trade, agriculture, and artifacts. This is a bit complicated. When at the end of the play or the match, you just examine your discard pile, and for the highest sequential run of symbols of the discard cards in order, this is your dominating token. So you get victory points for as many of that token that is in your highest sequential run that are still on the map. It is a bit complicated to explain. Essentially, you see how many contiguous cards you have of the various symbols. So even the discard order is very important, and this is the dominating token. So if you get victory points for each of those tokens that are still on the map, remember, the ones go on and remove the token. They are only vaguely interested in trade, but the other token, they romanize everything, so they make a desert and they call that peace, and so they remove cultural tokens, but other cards let you place those tokens all over the map. There are other small rules. For example, some of the event cards can force supply points for legions that lose cohesion points if they are not in one of those green fertile lands, if they are in these savage lands, this yellow one, this brown one, but this can be countered if they have built a fort or something like that. There are other small rules, but essentially this is the game, and the flow of the game is very simple. You play your card, you have your cards. Maybe you have a prepared card from the previous turn and you play that card. You have to play that card, and then you play the card in your hand, you follow the instructions, you move around, you try to build your victory conditions, gain victory points, you try to do useful stuff, damage your opponent, or in the case of Romans, build more settlements, and keep down the Breton tribes, and so on, until the event deck is over, and then the play is over. And in the meantime, you have moved these on the points track, so that you can track your victory points. A play will last more or less 2 to 3 hours, and as you see, here is a very simple, nice game with a lot of historical content. Now it is what I think of this game. Alright, I hope to have been clear enough in the explanation of the rules. This is a game with lots of small details. For example, also a sudden death victory conditions in which the Breton stop the play if they destroy 6 settlements and 2 forts, 2 Roman forts, 6 Roman settlements, but then, okay, they don't, only one Breton player wins. The Roman player is eliminated, and the Breton players will see who gets more victory points. And you know, a lot of those nuances, but in itself it's a very simple game. You have your cards, you play your card, maybe you have a prepared card from the previous turn, you move your pieces around. As a Breton, you try to build tension up to the point where you can do an open battle against the Roman or destroy an undefended settlement, but then you have to disperse because the reaction of the Roman can be terrible. The Romans, they're very powerful, but they're also fragile. The legions, it is very hard to get back their cohesion points, and there are not so many cards, and they can punish the Breton, but only essentially only with their warbands, and there were also a lot of objectives cover, and only against the warbands they can apply their full military might. But there are only 4 legions and so many Bretons around here. And also this game captures very well also the divisions of the many British factions, Breton factions, and these divisions must be exploited by a canny Roman player in order to win, because every single faction is weaker than the Roman old pre-Breton factions. Also, with the Breton neutrals are much more powerful, but it is very hard to unite them. And remember, only one player wins. And also after that, there are the leader cards, the event cards that change everything. So the play will evolve, because leaders will change, victory conditions will change, capabilities, proficiencies, and so on and so on. The board will change. This is a highly dynamic game, but it is also very easy, because what I explained to you, I hope in a somewhat useful order, is everything that is in the game, and then the game has to be discovered. There's many asymmetries, the secrets of a faction, the 3 Breton factions, they play very differently from each other. There is in the Romans so many different tactics to use. It can be also a bit peaceful and just stay there and build Israel settlements, and only punish some of the most dangerous bits, or you can go full-on imperial might and try to eradicate every single Breton tribe and every single piece of Breton culture. Oh yes, also the cultural struggle, cultural conflict. Great. This aspect of the Romanization, the destruction of the Breton culture. It is very important. It is a very important theme that we will see that theme many other times in history. So a very nice game. Okay, the components, I don't want to judge the components because this is a prototype, but as I see the game, fairly good components. Of course they will be much different, but from judging from the rules, I'd say that this game is 80% complete. It is a P500 game, and I have included the P500 link in the description for this video. In essence, a very good hybridation between coin, card-driven light games, the academy games, you know, 878 Vikings and the others, also Quartermaster General. This is a game, it shows that this game has been created during a Consim Jam, and fantastic initiatives by my friend Fred Serval, and this is a great game. Also, this is the beginning of a series. Rebellion will be a series. I'm really eager to try this game when it will be complete, but I also want to see the next episodes. This is a highly asymmetrical counterinsurgency game, because there is an insurgency. You really have the impression of fighting an insurgency, but it's very light and very accessible. This can be taught in 10 to 15 minutes, and you're gone, and after one turn you know everything. But there is a lot to delve, to dig in this game, lots of things to discover. Highly replayable, very different. The event cards make this game different every time. Sometimes you may feel a bit constrained by what you have in your hand, and also this is a game that takes you a bit by hand. You have to do this to get these victory points because it says so on this card, etc, etc, etc. But you can diversify. You have leader cards, you have the forced actions, you have many different strategies to exploit. You can totally change your hand. Okay, it is risky, but you can do that. You can get victory points to direct conflict, or to the preservation of the Briton culture, or to satisfaction of the contingent cards. Every faction plays totally different from each other. So yes, there is a lot of content, and as I said, I really like what I see. This is a prototype. I sent to Maurice that I think some of these are just the first impressions from the first playtesters, and some observations, some small things that I think should be adjusted, but it is a really good game. It is a very interesting game, very different, and it for me it occupies an interesting niche in the market because it is a low to moderate complexity asymmetrical game. We all know that coin games are great, but they can be sometimes a bit intimidating. This is not. This is just one step beyond the risk. This is Quartermaster General level of complexity. Very interesting, very nice game. I really hope that this game gets the success it deserves. It's on the P500. As I said, I made my P500 pledge for this game, and I can't wait to get it with my purchase of its P500 pledge. This has been Rebellion Britannia by Maurice Suckling. Thanks, Maurice, for the preview copy, for the prototype, and I will go on with the playtest, so don't worry. I will continue to bother you with impressions, suggestions, and so on. But it is a very good and nice game in a very interesting period that has been treated with the due respect, and it really will make you interested in this really fascinating period. A very nice game that I really recommend to you. Rebellion Britannia by Maurice Suckling. This has been Riccardo Masini with vlog from Italy, from Rome. Thank you very much, and have a very nice summer, a very nice holidays, and see you the next time. And remember, as always, don't be scared. It's just war games. Ciao.